Yes, it's transfer deadline day once again, and I sure had to keep up the gimmick because what would happen if I didn't? Totally pumped for this one, as you can probably tell. Yeah, this is kind of a behind the scenes look at this. I'm not wearing a full suit this year because I can't really be bothered, to be honest. Yeah, it's a bit of a quieter day when it comes to Celtic this time round. No third choice Swedish goalkeepers arriving at the club at 11:59. No out of favour Man United right back signed on loan. We did that more than once actually. This is just the new Celtic. We now shop in Asia, the streets of Asia, and we tend to do it nearer the start of the month than the end. So with all of that worked out, it's fair to say that today is more about outgoings for Celtic, which is never quite as exciting as incomings. I'm really selling the video here, but don't worry, we're going to get into the players who could leave Celtic, maybe have left Celtic by the time you're watching this, and also obviously look ahead to tomorrow night's game against Livingston. So yeah, let's do it. Let's start with incomings then. This won't take long. Ange Postecoglou confirmed earlier today at his press conference that there will be no more incomings. No more incomings. Right, Ange, just see what you're doing there. No, being serious, definitely no incomings for Celtic today. We are, of course, focusing on outgoings. Several names who could leave the club, the likes of Oliver Abildgaard, Ideguchi and Stephen Welsh, all mentioned so far. But we start with Georgios Giakoumakis. As we reported yesterday, which is something I've always wanted to say, Giakoumakis will be signing for Atlanta United in the MLS. The MLS window is actually open until April the 24th, so it's fair to say that there is no rush to get that one done. But I would assume that certainly from Celtic's point of view, we want that business concluded probably today, maybe tomorrow. It's just nice and neat that way. But Giakoumakis is definitely on the way out, as we reported yesterday. Today's scoop, by the way, and yes, this is probably not going to become a daily feature. It just so happens that this is the way things go. It comes in the shape of Stephen Welsh. You may have seen last night, Sheffield Wednesday launched a ambitious bid. Is it kind of ambitious to sign Stephen Welsh from Celtic? I was actually speaking earlier to one of the big dogs in the media down there in Sheffield, and I was told that Sheffield Wednesday have inquired about Stephen Welsh, and I'm told that that inquiry was received pretty openly by Celtic. Those were the words used. It's now up to Wednesday to put a deal to Celtic. Welsh is said to be keen on a move to Sheffield Wednesday, which would probably be a loan, but the Hillsborough side have a couple of other irons in the fire, so we'll wait and see whether Welsh ends up in Sheffield. Will it be Wednesday for him today? If it's not, it certainly will be tomorrow. Elsewhere, Oliver Abildgaard is attracting interest from Aalborg, who have kind of been sniffing around throughout the month. Bizarrely just been left to the end of the month. He isn't our player. I believe it was a loan deal we signed him on from Rubin Kazan, even though Celtic were incredibly vague about that at the time. So no transfer fee would be taken by us for him moving on to Aalborg, but he would obviously kind of be off our books, and he's clearly not in Ange's plans. The same goes for Ideguchi, who is wanted by clubs in the J-League. Some German interest in there as well, apparently. So interesting to see if something happens there as well. Very much in the same boat as Abildgaard and McCarthy, to be honest. They all play the same position. They're all like well down the list. Not going to play another minute of football this season. And I think, you know, McCarthy's going to be much harder to move on. I think he's going to stay put. But Abildgaard and Ideguchi clearly ones that could be on the move today. Connor Hazard has been mentioned in connection with Ross County 2. That would be a loan if that one goes through, although that seemed to be more yesterday that was mentioned. But maybe one to keep an eye on. Ange was kind of asked about the likes of Abildgaard and Ideguchi, and he didn't want to single players out and talk specifically about players in case it made it awkward for them if deals didn't go through. But it was clear who he was talking about. In fact, one of his answers, I think he he said, you don't need to be on Mastermind to work out who I'm talking about. I think if we move Welsh, Abildgaard, Ideguchi on, that would be pretty decent business. I don't think any of those three are really going to feature for us between now and the end of the season. I mean, Welsh hasn't played since October. You could argue that it maybe leaves us slightly short at the back, at centre-back, given that Moritz Jens moved on last week. We would effectively have Cameron Carter-Vickers, Carol Starfelt, we'd have Yuki Kobayashi and Bosun Lawal as well. I think Ange really likes the first three there. Lawal's obviously not really been proven at all, but I think him as fourth choice is kind of all right, because as I say, we haven't even seen Stephen Welsh kick a ball competitively since, I think it was St Johnstone away when Giakoumakis scored the late winner. So that's a lot of football that's passed him by without him even being on the pitch. So Ange obviously likes Carter-Vickers and Starfelt, and we'll go with that pairing for the vast majority of matches. And if we have Kobayashi, who's looked pretty handy so far, potentially, you know, being integrated into the team as time goes on and potentially being that partner for Carter-Vickers maybe next season and beyond, I don't think that's a bad kind of idea at all. And then Lawal kind of as the fourth option to be a bit of cover. Maybe you'd want a slightly more experienced player as fourth option, but I think it's all right, and I think it kind of suits everyone if Stephen Welsh moves out on loan and gets some game time, because I think he's a fine defender. He's probably not going to be good enough for what we're trying to do, but we've certainly had worse defenders at Celtic than Stephen Welsh. So I hope he gets out and, you know, can find a team and get a lot of game time between now and the end of the season. But yeah, I think that's kind of all I've got to say with regards to transfers. If anything happens, I will, of course, report on it tomorrow night after the game, which brings me on to the game tomorrow night, which is against Livingston, who, believe it or not, are visiting Celtic Park for the second time in just over a month. And the second midweek night, in fact, I think the last one was a Wednesday night as well, which is a kind of weird fixture quirk. They are fourth in the table. They're having another wonderful season under David Martindale. We kind of know what we're going to get from them. By the way, last time out it was a 2-1 win for Celtic. It may only have been like 6 weeks ago, but I can't remember much about that game at all. I know it was in the lead up to Christmas. I know that apparently Obilai scored an own goal for Livingston and Shock Kyogo netted for us, but other than that I really struggle to remember much about that game. Hopefully tomorrow night is a little bit more memorable than that, and tomorrow could be a thrilling affair, given that Livingston are famed for their expansive play, their overlapping fullbacks, their intricate passing and their attacking philosophy. Yeah, it's going to be 10 men behind the ball tomorrow at Celtic Park, but we've kind of got used to that. I mean, not many teams really come to our ground and take us on. In fact, not many teams even take us on at their own ground. So it's going to be nothing new, and we've shown already twice this season actually that we've got more than enough to take care of Livingston. So I expect more of the same tomorrow. Just in terms of Ange's press conference, most of it was transfer related. In terms of team news for tomorrow, Tony Ralston is still out. Ange says that he'll probably miss the weekend. He didn't actually say that. What he said was we'll probably give him another week to kind of get up to speed. So I'm kind of inferring from that Ralston won't be around for the St Johnstone game either. Ben Siegrist is also out for tomorrow with a calf issue, but that's not said to be a big worry at all. This is the team that I'm going for, with Joe Hart between the sticks. A back four of Alistair Johnston, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Carol Starfelt and Gregory Taylor. We're going with Callum McGregor, with Reo Hatate and Aaron Moy in the midfield. Jota, who did press today, on the right. Daisen Maeda on the left, and Kyogo Furuhashi, goal machine extraordinaire, through the middle. He may well change things up a little bit more than that. Bernabe, I was kind of to and fro whether to put him back in. Matt O'Reilly could come in. Have a weird feeling about Iwata for some reason, that he might throw Iwata in from the start, but probably just talking absolute nonsense there. I do think he'll probably... I've got two things in my mind. I think there's not been a lot of time between Sunday. It was a late game on Sunday. Finished, about 6 p.m. We're back into it kind of Wednesday night again. But equally, I think the team were really kind of starting to hit their groove, especially on Sunday. And I kind of feel like if you throw that team together again, we might see some of the same football. Hopefully the pitch is looking all right as well. So I'm kind of torn between that, but that is the team I've gone with. I would like to see a bit of a Wata, a good bit of O as well, maybe get half an hour into each player if we're winning the game pretty comfortably. But I think both have shown so far in the limited glimpses we've got of them that they could be thrown into games where we maybe need a goal. I think they both look really up for the cup so far. So yeah, excited for tomorrow. Our game is one of 5 in the Premiership, with one taking place this evening, Tuesday evening. That's Ross County v Hibernian. The other games tomorrow night are Aberdeen, who are, in my opinion, absolutely certain to win against St Mirren. We've got Hearts against Rangers, which should be interesting. Kilmarnock against Dundee United, and Motherwell versus St Johnstone. So yeah, enjoy all of that football, because lots of it is on the telly, of course. Thanks, Sky. Enjoy transfer deadline day. If there's any kind of interesting bits happening there, we will, of course, cover them after the game tomorrow night, which is obviously when the next video will be. So, see you later.